I'm singing. I'm in a mock draft and I'm singing. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy mock draft New Year. What is cool and what's going on? I hope you guys are having a great day. Merry Christmas. I know I'm a little late to the punch here. I'm sorry. I really did. Tried the best that I could to get this out on Christmas and just couldn't quite get it 7-round mock draft. They ain't joking. I ain't smoking. A pecking and a poking, pouring holler on that smoking, right, Joe Frazier? Where are you at? But I really hope you guys had a good one and happy holidays. We're getting to that new year. It is wild. Really excited to watch Stranger Things at some point. Boy, I want to get to those episodes. It looks crazy, man. Don't know any spoilers down there. Anyway, we got a 7-round mock draft cooking in a bacon in the oven. It's easy style. And we got it going by division. By division, we're starting off with the AFC East. I had to make sure I get that one right. But we got the Buffalo Bills. We're going to start off with Buffalo Bill over here. And they got Vega Ione with that first selection. Get that offensive lineman to be a plug-and-play left starter for them at left guard, should I say, for David Edwards, who is a free agent. Hey, Connor McGovern's a free agent, too, so they got to figure something on that offensive line. You got Mateo Iangalele, the edge rusher there from Oregon, to bring some more pass rush. I really, to be honest, I wanted a linebacker. I wanted, a couple of different positions, possibly like wide receiver. I just didn't see anybody on the board that I liked, and we had to go with the second round with the Mateo Uiagalelei route. Hey, Landon Jackson's injury, maybe you be a little bit cautious on that, so you get yourself some more edge talent there. Bosa, free agent. Could he be back? Absolutely. However, you never know. You get Bryce Lane to come in here to be his own lane in the receiver position, create lanes, get open, right? That's what they need. They need some more playmakers out here. He's got some speed, North Dakota State phenom. You got Cade Uluave from, maybe he's the distant cousin of Chris Olave right now. Just slightly different alternate universe, right? Different, of course. Anyway, Uluave is a stud, and he may end up coming back next year. But you talk about Teddy Buchanan and where he got drafted last year. The next line of stud over at California. Here, the linebacking core, Cade Uluave is that, man. He's a heat-seeking missile tackle machine. You got VJ Payne, bringing some pain from Kansas State. Going to be their future safety. Needs some more help to go along with the young man, Cole Bishop. That would be a fantastic duo right there, combination. Jack Stonehouse, our house. Stonehouse. It's going to be the punter from Syracuse, be their long-term punter in there. Hey, we got to spend a pick on punters and kickers too. They're important. And then finally, Sam Heck. What the heck, right? Gee, Sling, how'd you mess up our mock draft? Well, we got ourselves a center from Kansas State to develop. So I should just be a backup for them at the end of the draft. Why the heck not, right? I know, the puns are rolling. On to the Miami Dolphins. Fins up here where we're starting off with Mansour Delane Manning, one of those cornerback spots for the long of late. Going to fill in Jack Jones and also Rasul Douglas, both free agents, so they need some cornerback help here. And then you got Yanze Pierre from Alabama. How dare, right? He is an absolute stud. His power, his bull rush. He'll knock the socks off you, the next Alabama edge rusher. Now, a lot of players that I have in here, there are very much candidates to come back. And who knows, I probably missed a few guys that are coming back, and I put them in the mock draft. So I do want to be real with that. It's hard, going through 257 players plus. Got a list. I've written it down. I checked my list twice and find out who's not here going to the NFL draft or not. But ultimately, Pierre is a guy, if he does declare, I think he could end up being a first-round pick. I think he's that talented. Well, I do think he ends up coming back. But if he doesn't, hey, this is a spot right here. Boom and cheese, no problem. I'll put him in there with Chop and Bradley Chubb, and then you get yourself a really nice edge rushing combination there. And you got Malachi Fields, Notre Dame wide receiving pass catcher, to give him some strong hands on the outside with some big time size. A good complementary skill set with a Jalen Waddle. And then we got Zachariah Poisner from Miami, a hit stick, a magnet, a boom, a popper. He's a momentum type of guy, somebody that's going to really help out that secondary room and give him some more boom in that back end. You got P.J. Williams, SMU right tackle over there, one of the most athletic tackle specimens in this entire draft. He's going to be a developmental guy behind Austin Jackson, who is still under contract. And you figure Williams will be able to develop for a season because he's very raw with his hand technique, and he's got to get stronger. As he gets stronger and gets better with his hands, I think he'll be a nice developmental right tackle for them. Drake Bowen from Notre Dame. We go back to Notre Dame here and get ourselves a linebacker, another situation where you can get some development behind Dotson, and Brooks. And then we got Chase Roberts, the other strong hand wide receiver here. Give them some more help at double dipping the wide receiving room from BYU. Hey, they produce some good wide receivers, so Roberts may be the next in line. Jaron Kump from Utah. Klump is going to be a left guard, more than likely developmental type of guy. Left guard, right. They need help with the depth and all those sort of things. Figuring out some good depth is certainly always in the cards. He played tackle at Utah, but I see him moving inside to guard, which is the lack of length and stuff like that. So we go ahead and invest some more in that. To the New England Patriots, where we're going to start off with a big play weapon. Kenyon Sadiq, the Oregon tight end, going to come in here and give Drake May another big-time target in this offense. A mismatch. The ultimate piece in their overall backfield weaponry in the vertical game. You name it. Let it get the ball in his hands. The guy is just such a big-time playmaker. Couldn't pass up on the opportunity. And then we got Joshua Josephs, edge rusher from Tennessee, to give him some more juice off the edge. Give Vrabel a defensive talent right there from Tennessee. He volunteers to come to New England. We get Isaiah World, developmental right tackle. Yeah, he plays left tackle, but he can learn to play that right tackle position for a season behind Morgan Moses. Then we got Elijah Surratt, a nice little, another weapon for Drake May. We're trying to load up on some weapons out here, and we get Elijah Surratt, a big-time target with good hands there on the vertical stem. Daniel Wingate from Maryland, linebacker, really talented guy, good frame as well. He might be at the Senior Bowl as well. I forget if he got a combine or a Senior Bowl invite, but he's a guy to watch out for as this whole offseason process begins. Jaden Roberts, Keegan Trost, both opportunities to improve their offensive line as well. Hey, I loaded up on offensive line. We still need to invest in it. Maybe it's a little bit of an overkill situation here, but no such thing, right? They need depth and they need to look at the future here. Roberts can develop behind Michael Onwenu. Or Trost, right? Because Trost is a right tackle, so you figure he probably moves inside to guard at the next level, and he could develop there. Roberts can develop at one of those guard positions. And the likelihood is maybe just one of those guys works out or whatever, and that's fine, right? With their day 3 picks, we're trying to get some depth there and hopefully find a starter because, hey, Onwenu is going into a contract year next season, and then also, or at least his cap hit is pretty big, and you could save a lot of money if they decided to do that. Not saying they would because he's really one of their best offensive linemen, so don't do that. But anyway, like that is something they need to think about into the future. Not to mention Garrett Bradbury. Jarrett Wilson will move back into center, so one of those guards positions would be vacant at that point. So right tackle and guard certainly on the horizon there. Jalen Husky, another Maryland Husky over here, and he's going to be a nice, well, technically a Turpin, but something like that, right? He's going to be a nice little safety to develop in there just in case Hawkins is not brought back, or even if they bring him back or bring somebody in on a 1-year type of contract, we get a developmental safety to bring him some more depth with Craig Woodson. Avery Smith, the Toledo Rocket, right? Just go ahead and build up some more secondary depth here. Same thing with this. They got their locked-in starters, but they could use a little bit of depth here. And Tosaka, too good to pass up at this point. He's a phenomenal player that's just been injured. And then Josh Cuevas from Alabama. Just going to continue to load up on tight ends with Hunter Henry going to be going into a contract year. Hooper is in a contract year. All those things solidify that tight end room there with Sadiq and Cuevas. Next on the clock, the Jets. Jets, my favorite team. What can you do? Well, we get Brandon Sorsby, my favorite quarterback in this draft. I know, Christmas, it's a Christmas miracle. We found our franchise quarterback. I know a lot of people are saying, oh boy, here we go again. This Sorsby, overhyped, over craziness. This guy is off his rocker. I know. Where is my rocker? It's kind of shaking right now. I think my rocker is going all over the place right now. Anyway, Brandon Sorsby is a guy that I love, and just got to understand that. He's not 6'4", 332 pounds, but if he a little bit of a typo. I love him that much. He's 332 pounds. He's an athletic specimen. Nobody's tackling that guy. Oh, man. He would have to be on Bruce Feldman's free list on that. But Brendan Sorsby is like 230 pounds, 220-some pounds, something like that. So, yeah, a little bit of a typo there. So, pardon me on that. He is, he's 6'3" range as well. But we'll keep it because why the heck not? I think it's hilarious and pretty bad that I missed that one. Keldrick Folk, edge rusher from Auburn, going to be a nice pass rushing addition for them, but mainly as a run defender. We don't have a run defense right now. We need a strong edge. Keldrick Folk can bring that strong edge and hopefully help some of that play action boolah that they struggle with right now. Then we got Hosea Trotter, same thing here. We can improve that linebacking core and get him and Jamie and Sherwood as that 1-2 punch for the future. Quincy Williams, a free agent. Maybe he's on the way out. You get Trotter in there to trot out and be a beast. Chris Bell, too good of a value to pass up. Yes, the ACL injury is going to need some time, but that's okay. We have the time. We will give him the time. Chris Bell will be that 1-2 punch with Garrett Wilson. That'd be sweet. I'd be vibing with that all day. And then we get Arvell Reese, Texas Regis. Are we talking about who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants to be a New York Jet? I don't know. The lifelines are real. I'll take 50-50. I'll take any of those odds. But Regis is a beast. He's a stud up in that Texas A&M defensive line. Without him, they struggle. They struggle immensely stopping the run, and he is one of those guys that can bring that boom up in that defensive line for us in a rotation. Then we got Bo Stevens. Bo! Maybe the Jets fans can have somebody to root for, right? But he's going to be a nice developmental guard for us just in case AVT is not back. And we get ourselves a developmental guard or whatever, right? We're going to need to bring somebody in next case scenario. But Stevens being a guy there to compete. Brent Austin from California. They've got a couple of good corners with Halakai Massis and Brent Austin. Their defense in general is very, very solid out in California. They produce quarterbacks too, clearly. Maybe we should have drafted Mendoza, right? Now. Anyway, Brent Austin's a beast and going to be another outside corner / he can even play a little in the slot too. I think he's feisty enough. Anyway, I just want to get and bolster that cornerback room depth because of injuries, and maybe he can be that long-term Brandon Stevens guy for us. Cameron Ball, Arkansas, defensive interior lineman. He's a big ball of clay that can be a nice developmental police with his police, call the police. And he's going to be, Ice Cube, where are you at? And definitely developmental there. Same thing, Ernest Green, going to be a developmental swing tackle for us. He could also move inside to guard for one of those spots too. I'm just looking at him more as a swing tackle, trying to find somebody. Max Mitchell is still here, but that is something to watch out for. Well, he's a free agent, actually, I believe. But maybe we'll bring him back on the cheap. Dennis Sutton, Penn State edge rusher with some more tools. Give us some more talent off the edge because we need it. Finally, these last two picks, Jalen Strawman, formerly of Virginia Tech, transferred us to Notre Dame and gives us some safety help. In this case scenario, you're going to have to get a safety in free agency, which I'm totally fine with, to pair up with Malachi Moore. Those are all options on the table. You're going to have free agency to fill some of the needs. We have plenty of money to do so. Noah Whittington, running back from Oregon. Whether it comes out or not, I think there's a good chance he comes out, and we find ourselves a nice complementary piece. Of course, we got Davis, but Hall's our number one runner with Whittington in there to get some more help in that. Next up, we are on to the AFC North now, and we've got to start the Baltimore Ravens, taking Peter Woods, defensive tackle Clemson. You got to go ahead and find that interior piece. Sucks, not at Matabuki, but now we find our long-term answer with Peter Woods. Clemson, a defensive tackle here. They need a stud up on that interior. Their defensive line in general, no pass rush, very little pass rush. And we get Peter Woods to answer the bell. We got Austin Sherfield here at guard in the second-round pick to help that offensive line because that's a pretty big need, right? And we got to go ahead and improve the offensive line this offseason because they can't pass protect very well either. You got Eli Raritan, Notre Dame tight end. He is going to be a good tight end to watch out for as the pre-draft process and all those sort of things. He's a really solid athlete. Reminds me a little bit of Terrence Ferguson. Needs to continue to put more on that frame, but certainly has all the talent and the tools to be a true number one tight end in the NFL. John Hunter Daly. I almost said Nemechek, but Rekachek as we but I love Rekachek. John Hunter Daly, going to be a pass rusher from Utah. He knows how to get after the quarterback and how to use his hands. Not the most freaky athlete or anything like that, but certainly can bring back some pop. CJ Daniels, Miami, pass catcher, going to help out that receiving room a little bit, which needs a little bit more influx of talent as well. Carver Willis, going to continue the offensive line threat. He plays left tackle there at Washington. However, he moves inside the guard with his frame. And that is fine with me. Give him some more competition in there just in case injuries, etc., etc. Lewis Moore, IU Hoosiers. And he's going to be that safety that they love to develop plenty of safeties here. And that's what we're going to do. Whether Ardarius is back, which I expect he will be at some point. It was good to see him back in the game, already making his impact felt. And then we got Katron Allen, Penn State rusher. He's going to be that short yardage back. Hey, Henry's always seemed to struggle a little bit in short yardage situations. So you got Katron in there. And then we go Kamari Copeland from Virginia Tech, a pass rushing specialist up on that defensive line. Continue to add more pass rush for sure. Joey Aguilar, a quarterback. I almost called it, I kind of did say a tight end, but Tennessee quarterback that can be a good backup for them, because I think Cooper Rush has kind of proven that, it's not really the case. So they could use a long-term backup. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably, well, we got Pro Bowl quarterback Snoop Huntley. We don't need any. Hey, Snoop ain't that bad. He ain't. But we'll go ahead and find Joey Aguilar here at the end of the draft. Next up, we got the Rockin' Bengals here, who are going to get themselves a Caleb Downs up into that secondary of beast, if there ever is one in this draft. He is a true blue chip talent, and you get yourself an absolute stud in that back end to replace Geno Stone. Monroe Freeling. He's freeling up that offensive line at left tackle for them, clearing the way. Orlando Brown, that contract, they could get off of it this offseason if they so choose. But even if they didn't, then you have Monroe Freeling to be able to develop for a season. Kelly Jones, cornerback, Mississippi State corner with immense size, off in that cornerback room to pair along with DJ Turner. I think that's a great combination. You can put Daxton Hill back in the slot. Omar Cooper Jr., A+ value here in the 4th round. Yes, the injury going to make that timetable a little sticky, a little situational, but they've got 2 stud wide receivers. They can get away with it for a bit. They cash in on the value. Le'Veon Moss, Texas A&M running back, going to be that 1-2 punch of the future with Chase Brown. Brian Parker II from Duke, right tackle, moves inside to guard/center for them. Could be their long-term Karras replacement if you let him develop there, but I still like Matt Lee. Either which way, they could use a right guard. You could put Parker over at right guard. And a 6th-round pick, we'll see what happens, but I thought he was the best value at this point. And then Skylar Gill-Howard, another one of those kind of BPA positional. He was still available, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go get a situational pass rusher. The measurements are a problem, and that's probably why he's going to go late in the draft. And who knows, right at the draft, and I spelled Texas Tech wrong. Texas Techs. I don't know, something like that, right? Techs. I need to go back to the spelling bee over here. Clearly, I don't know how to spell, but Skylar Gill-Howard going to be another pass rushing specialist up in that defense line. The Cleveland Browns. Oh, also, I forgot to mention this. I did a little draft order shakeup too, and I know it is crazy, but I did go ahead and predict the Raiders losing this game. I know Giants fans might have a little bit of a pickle with this one, but it makes it easier for me. So it was kind of my Christmas present. I guess. I don't know. I'll have to explain that a couple of times because I didn't explain it at the beginning of the video. So I have the Browns, who are going to be picking at number 2 no matter what. Even if the Giants win, they're going to be picking at number 2 this next draft, this next week for mock drafting. Let's go get our quarterback here of the future. Yes, Shedeur Sanders has not been bad. Maybe they want to continue to build around Shedeur Sanders. Ultimately, though, have I come away like feeling uber confident about that? No. I think Dante Moore gives them that like franchise quarterback that they've been looking for here. Trevor Gooseby, they need a tackle, a franchise left tackle, to be able to protect your quarterback. Gooseby can do that. And then part of the problem is that they need help at the tackle position for sure. We got Denzel Boston, wide receiver, to give him a sure-handed wide receiver from Washington. He is going to be a nice option for them on the outside. With the injuries, too, that they've had between Tillman, they need some more help. And, of course, Jerry Jeudy, not sure-handed. So getting a sure-handed guy will be nice. Caden Green, offensive lineman. He plays left tackle over at Missouri, but I think he moves inside to guard at the next level, which is fine. We'll put him over at left guard for Joel Bitonio for the future. Jaden Kennedy from Oregon, cornerback. They go back to Oregon and get themselves a slot corner in the room. Got Jair Hill, Michigan. I mean, they do have Miles Harden, but I think at least he can compete there. And then we got Jair Hill, as I mentioned before, going to be some depth on the outside. Tyson Campbell still is under contract, so they can keep him around, but they need some more depth, and Hill can bring some of that from Michigan, the Wolverine. We got Wesley Williams, the Duke edge rusher here, who's going to just bring some more pass rushing depth for this football team. I think he's a really nice football player there at Duke. Cole Wisniewski from Texas Tech, another Texas Tech guy. We're seeing a lot of Texas Tech guys, the safety here, that could develop behind Delpit for a couple of seasons and just give him some more depth, special teams capabilities. Wade Wood as linebacker in rotation. They've had a lot of injuries, of course, in the linebacking room. And they have Devin Bush, who is a free agent as well. So just getting a little more depth there. And final pick, Isaiah Jetta from BYU, to give him some more offensive line oomph and more help on that offense, because they need to make sure that offensive line is going in the right direction. It got to get kosher as we continue to build this front five. The Pittsburgh Steelers here, where we have been looking for a franchise quarterback for a long time. We go Ty Simpson, the Alabama young quarterback. He is going to hopefully be their stability at the position. Even though Aaron Rodgers turning back time a little bit over these past couple of weeks, he's got that fire back in his eyes. You can see it. Mike Tomlin, same thing. I tell you, Pittsburgh Steelers so close to making the playoffs once again. We are going to try to find the franchise quarterback here with Ty Simpson. We got Casey Concepcion, great value in my opinion here in the second round. Finding a wide receiver, just got to work on the hands, but he's going to be that dude with some slipperiness to go along with DK Metcalf. We got Chris Johnson, San Diego State corner, another one of those kind of BPA, best player available, improving the roster cornerback. It comes down to what do they want to do with Jalen Ramsey, of course, this offseason. They want to keep him at safety. You want to put him back in the slot or on the outside. But I think Johnson gives him some more help, even if Pierre is back. He's been a little banged up, too. Bray Hubbard at safety. Hey, I figure let's go and get some safety up, too, because they need both. Bray Hubbard from Alabama will help them out in that department. And Elliott is still under contract, but he is a free agent in 2027. So figuring out their long-term safety could also be in play. Bray Hubbard is a nice football player from Alabama. You got Najee Harris and another Najee, a little different. It's like Najee Harris or something. I don't know. There's a slight difference in there, but the Florida offensive lineman, he is going to be a developmental guy just in case, right? Isaiah Samalu could be back on a contract extension. If he is, then maybe this is not big of a need. But ultimately, I still think that they could look at the future here at that guard position. Super talented guard. May end up coming back. He's still got plenty of, I think he's got at least another year. He's only like a redshirt sophomore or junior or something like that. So he could come back. He's a really good football player. A lot of talent. You got Chris Brazel, Tennessee, pass catcher here with that size profile. Can maybe be their Mike Wallace, the long, I don't know, a little different. There is some differences there. He doesn't have that type of game-breaking speed. He is actually a little more of an intricate route runner type, but Brazel definitely gives him another target on the outside. Drew Shelton, tackle, developmental guy behind Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones is not really, he's just not taking his game to the next level. So I feel like let's go ahead and at least try to find some developmental tackles in here, and Drew Shelton can do that from Penn State. Landon Barton, Utah, another one of those just like, I'm like, oh, he's on the board still? Yeah, we need a linebacker. Let's improve this linebacker position. Really big-time size with Landon Barton, really nice run defender, and can help them out just in case Patrick Queen, long-term there's a possibility, and he's a better run defender than someone like Peyton Wilson. Devon Marshall, NC State cornerback, giving them some depth there. I just feel like in general they need to build up that depth in that cornerback room. Next up into this final 6th-round pick, we go Tatum Tuioti from Oregon. I know they've got some pass rushers, no doubt about it. And Tuioti's the next guy, and he's going to give them some more speed that they like off the edge. I think he's got a tremendous motor, just a hustler, right? He's a big-time speed winner. He's not the most polished or the most powerful or anything like that, but in Pittsburgh, I think that works. You got Tyreek Tucker, the IU run defender up in here, going to help them out in that game. Just in case, I need to give Derek Harmon a little breather because without Derek Harmon, their run defense has definitely been a little bit leaky. You got Shimon Mator from Arizona State, a pass-catching tight end with underrated traits. And, Arthur Smith loves his tight ends, so Mateer can, just be some more depth in there just in case Johnny Smith is not back. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it here with a guy like Mateer, or finding some sort of more depth at the tight end position. It seems like always a value in an Arthur Smith defense or offense. Next up, we get Lee Hunter, interior defensive lineman, Texas Tech, the Red Raider, going to cement that defensive tackle position. Rankins and also Settle are both free agents. A lot of their interior defense line in general are free agents. So finding some help there, not to mention Mario Edwards Jr. could be a little bit of a cap casualty if they so choose to with his injury. Maybe they bring him back later, cheaper or something like that. But Lee Hunter gives him a stud monster up on that interior. Damon Wilson, the second from Missouri, pass rusher to develop. Just in case. All right, Daniil Hunter going into a contract year next season. Could be somebody that they need to think about at least finding some depth there with Derek Barnett also in a contract year this season. So that is definitely a likely scenario that they're going to have to get a little cheaper off the edge with Mr. Anderson. Anthony Hill Jr., Texas linebacker, going to be just a really nice developmental linebacker for them here in the 3rd round. They can continue to, maybe they bring back EJ Speed, You got Henry To'oTo'o as a liability in coverage at times, but a good football player and whatnot. I think Hill will give him a bit of an upgrade there in that linebacking room, a little more speed to potentially cover. And then we got Jalen Kilgore, a safety hybrid, plays corner, a South Carolina player that, South Carolina, they got athletes out there, and he's another one in line. I think he's at the Senior Bowl as well, so we'll see him more there, but I think he transitions to more off like safety position with his physicality. Then you got Joe Royer from Cincinnati, the Bearcats. They know how to produce some tight ends, right? Joe Royer is that next in line and could be that dude behind Dalton Schultz, who has got one more year left on his contract. We got Zane Durant, an interior pass rusher, won a complimentary piece with Lee Hunter. Red Murdoch, another linebacker. He'll give you some special teams, especially early on there. And then finally, Josh Braun from Kentucky, offensive line, double dipping, trying to find some help on the offensive line, some more depth for sure. And even if Ingram is re-signed, we can always use a swing interior player. On to the Indianapolis Colts here, who don't have a first-round pick, but we still try to find some help on this roster with Ahmad Moten Sr. from Miami, the interior pass rusher who, you can get after the quarterback. There's no question. He is a disruptor up there, and DeForest Buckner's a free agent. So I figured let's go ahead and try to improve that a little bit. Even if Buckner's back, they may have to move on from Buckner, and he's been a little more banged up this season. They are just got a point here where it might be time to invest more in the interior. I mean, you got to tell me why Abari and et cetera, but Grover Stewart's still a beast, and he's your quality like run defender. They could use another pass rusher up on that defensive line in general. Like, I feel like their pass rush isn't always the most consistent for the Indianapolis Colts. Ted Hurst for Georgia State, he's going to be a Senior Bowl cat to really watch out for with his size and speed. And just in case Alex Pierce is not back, right, they need to find, even if he is back, they need to have some more depth in that wide receiver room now that it is a little thin with A.D. Mitchell gone. Whit Weeks, linebacker from LSU, certainly could use a linebacker of the future here, even if Jermaine Pratt is re-signed on like a 1-year, 2-year contract. Whit Weeks, his talent certainly brings too good of a chance to pass up here to pair him along with Jair Franklin. Austin Barber, offensive tackle, Florida, could move inside to guard, and he kind of fits the mold of the type of offensive lineman that they like, big monsters up there. Maybe not the most athletic or anything, but definitely has that brute force. Demone Claiborne from Wake Forest can be a pass-catching number 2 option in there. They did get DJ Giddens. However, they could still use more of a rotation, and I think that he could add a nice element in that offense. Then we got Michael Kamara, IU. We got to get a Hoosier in here, right? I have to. Michael Kamara is a really he's an interesting pass rusher, right? He's that dense guy who doesn't have the biggest frame, but he's got an insane motor and can work his hands well enough where it's he wins off the edge. So he'll be, if nothing else, a good rotational player. Remember, Taquan Lewis going to be going to a contract year, so that's something to watch out for too. Finding some more rotation out there off the pass rush situation is certainly in play for them. You got Teo Johnson to finish it up, the Utah safety, really instinctual guy. He's a hard hitter, and certainly he's not the most athletic guy, but I think he makes a lot of plays around the ball, especially, breaking up passes, stuff like that. And at the end of the draft, I thought this was a tremendous value to fill some more safety depth, even if Nick Ross is brought back. And Teo gives them that ability to be that third safety for this football team. On to the Jacksonville Jaguars here, where I'm starting off with a cornerback, Brendan Cisse from South Carolina. Yes, Sensei, right? I guess Dwight Schrute will be throwing the throw punches at you. Watch out. Whoa! I actually did hit my jaw there. Oh, dang. Oh man, I'm going to fucking jaw on camera. You saw it, right? I got my lawyers out here. You saw. We're gonna pull out the cameras, pull out the lawsuit. We got dominant. Everybody's suing nowadays. Seems like actually, I really did hit my jaw there. Holy cow! I'm okay. That wasn't that hard. Come on, don't be a baby, G-Slang. Jeez Louise. Oh, we got Dominique Orange here from Iowa State, interior pass rush. Well, he's more of a run defender type, and that's fine. Like, they could use some more help on that interior defense line. John, granted, they need more pass rush. But I just felt like he was the best available at that point, and they had a lot of defensive linemen off the board. So I feel like Orange was the dude to go ahead and select there. Malachi Lawrence, well, he'll give them some more pass rush. They need some rotation, especially since the injuries they've had this season, with Trayvon being a little banged up at times, and Walker's been amazing and everything like that, and Allen's come on lately. But Lawrence gives them that third edge rusher. You got Caleb Tiernan from Northwestern. Now, I will say Cole Van Lanen has been really good. I just wanted to continue to invest in the offensive line. If nothing else, it can be a good developmental guy for them and a rotational player for injuries. He could even move inside to guard, possibly, too. So that is an area that I just feel like we need to continue to invest in the offensive line. John Michael Galenborg. Sounds like somebody from Star Trek, or actually, no, not really. Maybe from the Terminator. It's John Michael Galenborg. He's a good football player. I like him a lot from Wyoming, and I do think he's underrated, even though he's not had a very good season. Injuries, a big part of that, too. And then you got Jonah Coleman, Washington running back, who is also a bully back in there. So him and Tootin and LaQuinn Allen, I think that'll be a great pairing. And LaQuinn Allen's been good. Same thing with Tootin. Both of them really good. That's not, any vindication on those guys. But if Etienne's not back, they might want to find that third running back room, because I do think that Cohen is going to use those guys. We got Anthony Smith, defensive lineman, could also be an interior pass rusher. He could be maybe more like the sort of, I guess, if you want to call it Eric Armstead, mold a player. And he's got some of those traits to him, where if you can develop him as more like that, put on a little more muscle mass, he could get there. I think so. So I think they could use him more as an interior pass rusher. And that was just kind of the play here. So you got Aiden Fisher from IU. Hoosier is going to come in here and be a special teamer and a good backup for them with like Ventrell Miller. And just in case, hey, if Devin Lloyd's not back, which he's going to get a big contract, then you need some more help on that linebacking room. Peter Clark, tight end, Temple, going to give them a blocking inline guy to go along with Brenton Strange, who's a great linebacker. He's been a little banged up this season. However, the way I look at it is like guys like Johnny Munt could be cap casualties this offseason. Hunter Long, they got both of those guys, but they could save a little bit of money, which their cap situation is a little tight. So even $4 million between those two guys might be saying, oh, that's a good amount of money we can save, and we go get Peter Clark, who can fill that spot a little bit, and maybe they find somebody else. We got John Michael Galenborg too to help. He's not more of a blocker, but hey, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Moving on to the Titans, the Tennessee Titans. Carnell Tate, wide receiver of the Ohio State University. Look, I prioritize wide receiver in this case scenario. I might get it. Arvell Reese would be a great option here. One of those top pass rushers or impacted defensive players in this draft. There's plenty of them, but Tate is an absolute monster, and I think that you get yourself a true number one wide receiver with Alec Ayumana or Chamari Dike. That's a nice, solid, well-rounded wide receiving room for Cam Ward in this offense. Make sure you have plenty of playmakers. They need an offensive line too, but we get Carter Smith for that, an offensive lineman that I think could end up moving into center even possibly for this football team to be their long-term center. And then we got TJ Parker here from Clemson. He is going to be their pass rusher here that we select in the second round to give him some much more juice off the edge here. And then we got Will Lee, Colin Wright, two corners. I want to just get volume. We didn't go with maybe a guy that feels a day one starter, but we got guys that I do think that can compete and earn one of those spots between Will Lee and Colin Wright. Different football players, I will say. They're different. And Will Lee is more of your physical corner at the line, chop up. Colin Wright's more of your zone IQ guy, see things, make plays. Diego Pounds, he's Pounds, unbelievable. Like, he has got that size profile. When you look at him, you're like, oh, snap, that looks like a first-round offensive tackle. Then you dive into the tape, and you're like, oh, that looks like an undrafted tight tackle. But he's got the skill set. If you can develop him, he can learn behind Dan Moore for a season. I'm just trying. Don't learn behind Dan Moore. We want you to just learn. It is what it is. Kyle Lewis, linebacker, Pittsburgh, and gonna be a nice linebacker for them to be able to develop in this room, because they could use a little more of a coverage player. And Grayson Halton from Oklahoma, interior pass rusher, give him some more depth and rotation. Even though they've got a beastly one at that, they could definitely, if like Sebastian Joseph Day, like finding a long-term answer, like kind of that role. So the Broncos are up next, and they got a good win over the Chiefs. Really clutch drive there. Bo Nix at the end, leading that big time full offsides penalty too. Chris Jones, what are you doing, right? But nah, it was a good game. It really was. Chris Oladokin's been a fun player to watch and everything, but they came up big. RJ Harvey had a big night. Their defense, of course, continues to be very, very solid. I think when you're looking at the draft for their needs, C.J. Allen, linebacker, would be a nice addition here at that linebacking room with Greenlaw's injury history and whatnot. I mean, Justin Chenard played a pretty solid. I didn't really see him a whole ton or anything like that, but you got Singleton back there who they can move on after, next season. So Allen gives them that dude for the future. Cade Pieper, whether he plays, I think he'd be more of a guard in this case scenario, but I also think he could play center, but they got Luke Wattenberg signed up. He is unfortunately on IR now, and that does stink, but Pieper can be their long-term Ben Powers replacement here. We got Terrence Carter Jr., that tight end, joker, jack of all trades, slot gadget guy, I guess, if you want to call it that, but he is a really athletic specimen. You got LT Overton. He would be the John Franklin Myers type of build and replacement that I'm looking for here. I like Overton a lot, and I like him in a John Franklin Myers type of role. I don't see him as a true pass rush and edge rusher sort of thing, right? He's not that guy. He just doesn't have that type of juice, but he has the strength to hold up on the interior and combine it with his hands. I think he could be a really, really good interior 5-tech, 4-eye type of player in the Franklin Myers role. Then we got Amari Farrell from the IU Hoosier Nation, of course, who is going to be a developmental safety for this football team. They might want to get cheaper at some point. Brandon Jones and Talanoa Hufanga both. I mean, Talanoa Hufanga has been a beast, and you got to go ahead and say, all right, maybe we go and find that other guy there. Nicholas Singleton and PJ Locks had to step in too lately for Stevens, or from Brandon, for Brandon. I just said his name. I'm blanking on his name. Brandon Jones. Jeez Louise. I don't know what's going on here. I feel like a mummy right now. Oh, but we got Nicholas Singleton here, linebacker. See, I'm calling Nicholas Singleton a linebacker. Woo, we got problems. Somebody call a medic. Nicholas Singleton, running back, just give him some more rotation in that room there with RJ Harvey and Jaleel McLaughlin. He was just kind of best player available to at this point. I'm like, Nick Singleton's available. All right, I'll take a chance with his speed and athleticism. They use running backs in rotation. Michael Pettis, tackle to develop here. Another player that I like a little bit more in the draft consensus. He's a big man, but he can develop there behind McGlinchey, who did get bull rushed this week by Chris Jones. Who doesn't get bull rushed by Chris Jones? Dejon Stribling, LSU, wide receiver. He's a really good target, man. I like this guy a lot. He could play a little power slot for them. He could play a little bit everywhere, I think. And at the end of the draft, absolutely, I'm going to take him. Vincent Anthony Jr., Duke edge rusher, just getting some more pass rushing depth. That's really all this is. And then to the Kansas City Chiefs. We were just talking about that game. And Chiefs defense actually played a pretty good game. I thought that Fulton had a nice game, a couple of PBUs, at least 2. One, you could make the argument, it was like 3. But I thought he had a great game. And, that tipped interception to Nick Bolton. I thought Noah Williams was fantastic in run defense. Just in general, Chris Jones, of course, still continued to have a good game. He bull rushed Mike McGlinchey off the edge and was disruptive. Brian Cook had a solid game, and Cook's a free agent. And that's why I drafted Jacoby Thomas here, the Miami Hurricane, who could be in that mold that they seem to look for. He's not the most athletic, and maybe they should get a guy with a little more athleticism in the back end, because I do think they could use some more speed there. But Jacoby Thomas, really instinctual guy that makes a ton of plays. But let's go to their first pick, Makai Lemon, a wide receiver. I couldn't pass up on Makai Lemon. He is such a good football player. Couldn't do it, man. They don't have the opportunity to draft this type of a football player very often. So we get a guy like that. Whew, I'm striking it up for Mahomes or Chris Oladokin in here, even if he has to play early on. Boubacar Toure, Notre Dame pass rusher. He is a unbelievable talent. Yes, he probably comes back. I'll be real. He probably comes back and ends up being a first-round pick next season. However, if he does come out, he might still be a first-round pick. We'll see what happens if he does declare. And that's what I'm saying. Look, there's going to be a couple of surprise declares. There are going to be a couple of surprise comebacks. Like, that's what happens every single draft. There will be somebody that we did not expect to come out, whether it's Yanzi Pierre, Boubacar Toure, you name it, right? There's going to be somebody that comes out that we're like, oh, wait a minute, they're coming out? Okay, let's go watch the tape. And like, oh, snap, this guy's a first-round pick, especially in this draft class. So that's why I'm including these here in the 7-round. Look, 7-round mock drafts, as I said before, they ain't easy to kind of find a pool of players. I mean, I got a list of like 500 players or whatever, but sometimes like finding draftable prospects and all those sort of things is a whole different challenge, and finding rounds and all those things, grades and et cetera, et cetera. But Boubacar is a beast. Raleek Brown, running back. He might be my second running back in this draft. I like him a ton. Whew, he's got burst. And I'm sure the Chiefs be like, you know what? We see James Cook quite a bit, and we're a little jealous. We want a little bit. We're a little salty in here, so we go get ourselves a Raleek Brown here with that burst, man. He's also a good return man. Granted, they don't need that, but Jacoby Thomas, as I mentioned before, I think would be a nice mold for them. Emil Wagner did declare. So he was another surprise declare, but I think he sees what's coming. You know, you got Charles Jagassar who might take that position. They got plenty in the pipeline there. So we'll see what about with Wagner. Yes, you took it that Florida game. It wasn't good. Or the Miami game at the beginning of the year. He stabilized pretty well. Still think that that would be something where he'd be more a developmental guy there, which is fine. They have they still you roll with Jalen Moore next season at right tackle, and then we go on to Tacario Davis at Washington, the cornerback there with some tremendous size. He screams Chiefs for me. He kind of seems like that physical corner on the outside with great size can play in here for Spags. Next up, finishing up this division here. Well, we got the Chargers next, but we got the Raiders here. We're taking Fernando Mendoza at number 1 overall, as I said before. I'm making a projection. I'm saying the Raiders end up losing, which it's probably not going to happen. But hey, I don't say don't bet. Don't do any betting. Not good. Use that money and go invest it or something like that. But Mendoza from IU going to be the pick here. Tom Brady finds the Tom Brady. Nah, he's not Tom Brady, but he finds that pocket passing quarterback that can get the ball out on time and be their franchise quarterback of the future for the Raiders. We got Caden McDonald here in the second round. They need defensive line up tremendously, and this guy's going to help out that interior, help stop the run some more, and just be somebody in that defensive line core that they can continue to develop with Max Crosby. Who else is going to be like, they need more help, right? You got Genesis Smith from Arizona, the safety. They also need a safety here because that's been a big emphasis and a big struggle for them. Isaiah Polamalu has not had the season I think that he wanted to have. Maybe he could have a bounce back, but Genesis Smith gives them some more help. You got Torian York from Texas A&M. Really just, yes, he's undersized, but I love his game. I really do. And when he's out there playing at a high, like when he's playing healthy and all those sort of things, he's playing at a super high level. Maybe he's Gary Brackett 2.0, despite the size. Max Louis-Ellen from Iowa, another great pass rusher at Iowa. They've got a couple of guys. Aaron Graves is a really good player. I think a couple of dudes that are round 4 type of players that certainly could provide a team with a really nice pass rushing help. You got Skylar Bell from UConn, a dude that I think probably moves into the slot more full-time, but I think that's really his position and calling card. He can be their Jacoby Myers kind of replacement into that room. I mean, you got Trey Tucker, and you got Jack Besh. Now you got a Skylar Bell. And then we also added Natane Key as another bigger target wide receiver from Nebraska. A bit of a down season, but Nebraska in general has had a down season. I think Key is a talented wide receiver that somebody's going to get a really nice value on. Besides that, from round 5 through round 6, we get Chandler Rivers, Wendell Moe, and Austin Romaine. Rivers going to be some more help in that secondary. Look, in this case scenario, you're probably going to have to invest some of that money in the cornerback room, and you're going to have plenty of money. You got, I think, the most amount of money in the NFL to be able to spend a little bit on free agency to get some more help. And I would say this, too. I know you're looking at me and saying, offensive line, you are crazy. You didn't draft, an offensive line earlier. And I know I feel a little crazy right now. I'm a little shaken, but I think that this is another situation where it's like you would have JPJ coming back at center, and then you would have Caleb Rogers at right guard, DJ Glaze, you bring in a free agent, compete with him, plus you got Charles Grant you drafted. So you have a lot of young players you've drafted. You have Colton Miller coming back at left tackle. You need a left guard. No doubt about it. Like Parham's a free agent. I doubt they bring him back. Sign a stud. Go get a David Edwards out there. Pay some money. Get a solidified starter in there. You got to pay a little bit to get some guys and get some experience, because I don't know if just sticking another rookie in there is ultimately going to help Fernando Mendoza. In a guy on round 2, round 3, again, I don't know if that's really going to help out right now, day 1. It could if you really hit, but ultimately I think that spending a little bit of money there would really help them out. Austin Romaine, Wendell Moe, going to be some developmental players. Hey, we were just talking about those Iowa guys. We're on to the Los Angeles Chargers here. We get Aaron Graves in the 4th round to be a interior pass rusher for them, right? They've got some good run defenders with Caldwell and Tart. Now they could use maybe more of a pass rusher guy. And he got Hand. He's a free agent. Could he be brought back? Absolutely. I think Graves would be a nice pass rusher to develop here in the 4th round. We also got Kean Sloan from North Carolina State to be another hybrid player. He would be literally like a Sam type of linebacker for them. So he could play a little off the ball, on the ball. He has a little of that versatility. He can drop back and cover a little bit too with his size profile. So he's a little bit of a scheme fit guy. We'll see, right? It's going to depend on who wants that type of mold and all those sort of things. But I think they could use a guy like Kean Sloan. We're going a little backwards in this mock draft. It changed up, right? We always go from front to bottom, but let's start from the bottom, and now we're here. Now we got D'Angelo Pons, IU cornerback. I like Pons a lot, and I thought he was just a tremendous value at this point. A playmaker, despite his size, I think he can fill in really well in his zone style of defense. I'm not that he can't play man-to-man because he playing man-to-man here and going up against the best wide receiver in the nation in Jeremiah Smith and held his own. He got beat, but I think D'Angelo Pons is a feisty guy and really will fit in here for the Chargers. We got Cassius Howell, Texas A&M pass rusher, just continue to bolster the pass rush, right? And this was one of those where, I was kind of looking for an interior pass rusher, but I said Cassius Howell's the best player available on the board. How is he still available? Was kind of like going through my mind. Maybe it was because I had a guy like Boubacar Touré and Yanzi Pierre that got off of the draft instead, and that's what ended up Cassius Howell falling a bit. But Howell is a really good player that's probably going to go earlier than this. Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon. He's going to be their guard, day one starter, no questions about it. They need offensive line. Oh, bats. I don't need to explain this anymore. How about them Cowboys next as we move on to the NFC East? And it's definitely going to be defense all the way. And this defense, we could use more pass rushing talent. We could use more cornerback, especially cornerback and linebacker help are all huge areas. In this case scenario, maybe they go get a linebacker in free agency. We get a developmental linebacker in Justin Jefferson later. I know Jettas. So we got new Jettas. What's going on out here? That'd be quite crazy. Maybe Justin Jefferson's going to play linebacker too for them. But David Bailey, Avion Terrell, just two good players to take here. And they were both best players on my board. Maybe Bailey, they say, well, he doesn't play run defense well enough. But I just think what he brings to the table is a pass rusher. Him, Donovan Ezeraku, that would be an insane amount of serious pass rushing energy that teams are going to struggle with. Avion Terrell, I'm a huge Avion Terrell guy. He'll bring you the run support, and that's a part of it too. Like, your corners have to play run support. I think Avion Terrell, that's an underrated department of what he does so well. Obviously, AJ Terrell is one of the best run defending corners in the NFL. Zakee Wheatley, safety, Penn State, also a nice player that can come from the top down and play three levels of the field. You got Xavier Chaplin, a developmental tackle in here, and that's just something where even if they bring back Terrence Steele, then you're going to need some sort of development there. Nathan Thomas has been okay. I do think they could still use somebody in there, and they've done a good job of developing offensive linemen. So I'm like, hey, we'll take a chance on Chaplin. He's got the physical traits. I mentioned Justin Jefferson there, and at the linebacker, he's also got some physical traits. He's maybe a DeMario Overshown type of player and missile. You got Jamari Taylor, Virginia running back, who's an underrated running back in general, and I feel like, hey, we'll go ahead and take another chance on a running back here. You got Jaden Blue. He hasn't really worked out thus far. I mean, he's dealing with some own set of injuries and whatnot. But Jamari Taylor from Virginia, they got some players. They got a couple of guys on that Virginia roster in general. Then we go Jared Kinnick here from Oklahoma. A good story and really got his chance this season. And he's been making the most of it out there. And you also have to look at their tight end room here, which has been fine. Ferguson's been great. I think they could use maybe somebody behind Shoemaker who may not be on the roster too much longer. You got Xavier Nonpak from Iowa going to be the safety in here. And this is another thing where probably going to have to pick up a safety in free agency in this case scenario. All right, we weren't able to go safety earlier than what I would have liked. Remember, they don't have a day two pick. We got Wheatley. Well, I thought that was really good value at that point. But I do think they would probably need to pick up at least one free agent safety. So we go on here to the New York Football Giants, and I want to preface this real quick, New York Giants fans, because you're probably looking at this like, we have the number one overall pick. You are crazy. I am not. You have ruined my Christmas. You gonna get coal. Santa Claus is hating you right now. But yeah, a lot of those things, sure. But I do have them projected to lose to the Raiders. Again, that could change. It just made it so much easier for this mock draft because I didn't want to do trades and you move it a 7-round mock draft with trades. It's enough to handle and whatnot. I know. Don't be lazy, G Sling. Come on, don't be lazy. I am crazy, but geez. Anyway, I went with Francis Mauigoa here and Connor Lew. Connor Lew may come back. He has not announced yet whether he's coming back or he's declaring. So it's still up in the air because he could come out and he might say himself, look, I want to go ahead and take the guaranteed money right now with this injury. It's always, you can always sit here and say this and that, the player's going to come out or they're not going to come out. Who knows, right? We don't know. Lew he'd probably be ready somewhat in maybe like October time period. And that's fine. Like they don't have to rush him out there. But my vision for this, you could play John Michael Schmitz over at guard, and in this case scenario, put Lew at center, And the Mauanoa at right tackle, that would be a pretty. Hey, even look, here's another option too: is Lou could sit behind John Michael Schmitz for a season, and you could have Mauanoa play right guard, bring back Jermaine Illuminor, and you got yourself a rocking offensive line. Make that a strength. I don't have a problem with that, right? And hey, it's what it is, right? It's just one of those situations where I think if you can do something like this to your offensive line, you're building yourself something serious. And why so serious? But that is something that this Giants team could really use. A great offensive line. Malinoa and Lou, heck yeah, I'd do that. Arion Carter from Tennessee, the linebacker who is a little underrated out there. This guy's a name to watch out for if he, which he did declare already, I declare, but I'm pretty sure he already declared, and he is a dude, all right? He's a guy to watch out for. He's another one of those missiles around the ball, and I think he could be a nice little impact player for them, even if they keep Okereke for another season, because Okereke's had a good year, and I think they may not want to lose him. Micah McFadden, if they re-sign him on the cheap, but ultimately, Okereke going to be going to a contract year, find a developmental linebacker in the 4th round. Hezekiah Massis from California, as I said earlier, with Brent Austin, man, they've got a good cornerback room. They produce some good players in general in that secondary. And Hezekiah Mass is another one of those guys. He's a playmaker in that back end. He's got some solid size as well, maybe putting a little more muscle mass, but he certainly can make plays on the football and get themselves another cornerback in that room. And obviously, the big question will be, will Cordell Flott be back? And Paulson Debo's got to stay healthy, all those sort of things. And maybe we got to see Drew Phillips play a little bit better in coverage too. Kevin Coleman Jr., Missouri slot corner, and he's going to fill in that Wandell Robinson role here for this football team. Good player. I've watched him, and I do like him. I think he's a nice player to watch out for on day 3 that you never know, right? And definitely could contribute to a football team. Not saying he's going to be their long-term starter, but he certainly could be a guy. DeMonte Capehart, rotational player. You go back to Clemson, get a defensive interior player that can help out Sexy Dexy, and hopefully Sexy gets fully healthy out there going into next season. And we're starting to see a little bit more of Dexter Lawrence as the season's progressed along too. Jacarius Peak from North Carolina State might end up moving inside to Gore, but I think he's probably got enough length to play tackle. And they need a swing tackle is what this is. He's their left tackle over there. He's been really solid. And yes, this is about finding a swing tackle behind Andrew Thomas because that is a important need. Yes, you got Marcus Bowe, and he probably is going to be their long-term swing tackle, but they could always use a little bit of depth on their offensive line. He could compete over there for John Runyon at that left guard position. On to the Philadelphia Eagles here, where we start off with that secondary haul. They go back. They said it worked for us once with Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. They do it again with Colton Hood and A.J. Halsey. What a haul, right? That would be an insane duo in cornerback room and secondary completion. Halsey and Mukaba, and then obviously Hood, Quinion Mitchell, and DeJean. That's just building a lights out secondary if they choose to go that route. I mean, there's a good chance they hit up in free agency. You got Jacorian Bennett, maybe if they give it another season too, possibly can be an outside cornerback for them. They're trying a lot of things, but right now they could use somebody in there. Dory Jackson's not the long-term answer. Hood certainly can bring that, and yeah, he's a feisty cornerback. And a name like Colton Hood, yeah, he can. The boys in the hood right now, I love it, man. Let's go, man. But anyway, Colton Hood is a beast, and Halsey as well. Carson Beck in the 3rd round. This might be a bit of a shocker pick. You're saying to yourself, what are you doing? And I'm still thinking to myself, what am I doing? I don't know exactly, but Carson Beck was available, and I said to myself, all right, let's go ahead and get a backup quarter. You got Tanner McKee, you do have McKee, but I don't know. I mean, Hurts hasn't played the greatest. Maybe just give him a little bit of a, a little bit of a push, a little bit of a yank right there. I mean, Carson, they've done this before, and we've seen it happen. So I think Beck is not out of the cards. Somebody is going to always take a quarterback higher than what you think they're going to take. At least it's just a backup, because having a backup quarterback is really important, and they're expensive. So spending a 3rd round pick on a backup quarterback is actually not that bad in all reality. And one of these picks is free from the Jets. So that's kind of what I'm doing, right? I mean, this is kind of the way I look at it. And we go back to Tennessee here and go get Miles Kitselman, who is really the mold and, look at an inline blocking tight end that can also play as a receiver. He's got enough vertical speed to attack the seams. He's not the most athletic guy or anything, but he's a good tight end. I just recently watched him, and I'm like, yeah, I like Kitselman. I do like him. I think he's a guy. And we go back to Tennessee, as I said before. Then we get Tyler Inium from Texas A&M. He's a freak athlete that just doesn't have the film quite put together just yet, but he certainly could be a really good developmental piece on that defensive line for Philadelphia and what they do out there. Zachariah Branch, wide receiver from Georgia. This was best player available for me on the board. Add more juice into this wide receiving room. Why the heck not? You got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Now you got Zachariah Branch, who's going to be their kind of like their long-term number 3 wide receiver for this football team. Then we get Jayshon Barham from Michigan, hybrid player, and I think he'll work in with Vic Fangio with his cover ability as a former linebacker and also can rush the passer. Brett Thorson from Georgia, great punter, very good punter. They've got the best special teams between kicker and punter, and you're going to see Woodrig in this as well, but you're going to go get Brett Thorson here as the punter for the long haul for Brennan Mann. And they got Des Reed from Pittsburgh here at the end of the draft. Give them like a receiving back in here and a complimentary piece. You got Tank Bigsby, Will Shipley, but Reed can be a receiving element here with Saquon, who's already a receiving element, of course. But hey, I mean, just continue to build out that room. Why not? Into Commanders and their defense right now, they're pulling anybody that they can from the practice squad or calling all help. Calling all cards. We need help in this Washington Commander defense. And I will say, Jer'Zhan Newton had a great game. I thought he played well. Their secondary continues to be a problem. Jeremy Reeves, I'm surprised they don't let him play more. He's the only guy that I ever see feel like making plays in that secondary, at safety at least, should I say. So going into this defense, you got to improve it. There's no question about it. The defense is not good enough. So we go get a turbocharger here on Ruben Bain. I'm Turbo Man. Put that cookie down. That's another good jingle all the way. Hey, it's Christmas, right? But you got Ruben Bain Jr., the Miami edge rusher, to give him that number 1 passer to go along with Dorrance Armstrong. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety, Toledo, available at this point. And that was a run to the table scenario for me. No question. They need help in that room. Will Harris has not been the guy so far. Yes, he's come back from injury. Maybe as things go along, he gets better. But right now, they could use a nice player with some good size and profile that can cover, right? Louis Bond. Here it is. Wide receiver from Boston College. I think he's an underrated cat in this draft. He just gets open. He makes plays. He's a consistent presence there at Boston College that don't have the best, all-around passing game, but he continues to put up yardage and get volume there and just been very, very reliable at Boston College. You got Jake Slaughter from Florida center prospect. They can develop behind Biadasz. He could also be a guard. I don't see why he couldn't be a developmental guard for this football team either, which, you never know. We'll see what happens with Chris Paul. I just want to continue to invest in the offensive line. I imagine they'll sign somebody if they do let go of Chris Paul. Then you got Cole Brevard from Texas, interior run defender. And if they don't bring back guys like a Goldman, who is also injured right now, but Brevard can be a nice little developmental guy there and good run defender. And then finally, Toriano Pride Jr., the athletic man from Missouri, could play as a little slot developmental player, just depending if they want to keep Mikey on the outside, whatever, right? Keep it rocking. You got no Igbenogany out there, which they need to maybe upgrade a little bit, right? So pulling my Robert De Niro, is that Robert? Anyway, there's the Commanders draft. I still can't get over that. On to the Bears, and we're gonna go with Amari Washington, defense tackle, Oregon, the Duck. He's gonna be that juice up on that interior. It's going to help that run defense out, but also give him more importantly, some pass rush, right? This physical freak that he is, Amari Washington. Remember, Billings is a free agent, and he's not played as well since being injured so much, and Grady Jarrett's not prime Grady Jarrett or anything like that, so getting somebody to go along with Dexter would be great. And you got Turner as well, who can be more of that souped-up pass rush, can play a little D-end for them. Jelani McDonald, safety, Texas. I think there's a good chance he comes back, but if he comes out, man, he's a second-round type of talent. Elite athletic traits, size, everything's there with Jelani McDonald. And yes, they need safety, right? I mean, he'd be that ultimate Kevin Byard replacement for them. Kenyatta Jackson Jr., the Ohio State edge rusher, another best player available approach for me. He's available? What happened? I don't know, but he's a really toolsy guy that has started to put it together more and more at Ohio State and be a big impact for that football team. And we're going to see him continue that as we go into the playoffs, I'm sure. We get Jennings Dunker from Iowa, going to be the Ben Johnson mold of offensive line, like a zone, big fella, freak athlete, good athlete, not a freak athlete. I don't think he's got the foot speed to play tackle, but he's a monster up in there that moves guys in the run game. And then we got Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech. really instinctual linebacker that fell because of the traits, right? I'm trying to be somewhat realistic with some of the traits things, balancing traits versus production. You can find these linebackers. I say it over and over again. I would much rather choose linebackers that know how to play the game and love the game. I think Rodriguez checks all those boxes here and can be somebody that, even if you bring back Edmonds and also Edwards, then he can be that third linebacker with Sewell. And long term, they're going to need somebody to get cheaper at linebacker. Julian Neal at Arkansas and Seth McGowan finish up this draft. And Julian Neal gives them some good depth. Once again, just kind of like, he fell. Okay, I'll take him here in the 7th round. I don't think he'll go that late in the actual draft, but you never know how things all work out. And then Seth McGowan. It comes down to some of the off the field stuff, of course, but he's tried his best to really, rework himself as a person and all those sort of things. The comeback story and Seth McGowan, and he's a good runner from Kentucky. So we'll get a runner to go along with Monangai for the future. I still think that Swift you bring back, but if you get a third running back and Seth McGowan, I'm fine with that. On to the Detroit Lions here, and it's offensive line all day. Minnesota Vikings were like, we blitz all night. If you let anybody cross that line of scrimmage, it was insane. It was literally that type of game for Minnesota where they do that. I felt like they were lining everybody up on the offensive line, every singer on the defensive line per se, but it was incredible. Jared Goff was seeing, he was like, I can't even see. I don't know what I mean. I've got players in my face constantly. They need to improve their offensive line. They need to improve their protection. Yes, the interior is arguably the biggest need, but Taylor Decker, if he does retire, which I know it's a big situation for him, and he's already said, like, I've gone through so many pains. It's been the worst year of his career in terms of that. And that's hard to see. It is. It's really hard to see. And guys like Frank Ragnow had to retire earlier than maybe what it would have liked. But that's what sometimes it happens with this physical game. And maybe Caleb Lone was not the most physical guy that Dan Campbell in this offense went up, but I think he'll be a better run blocker than people think is. He's a young player. He's going to put on more muscle mass. I really like Lomo a lot. And I do think he'll be a franchise left tackle for this football team. If Decker does retire, then boom, here you go. On to Zion Young, Missouri pass rusher, who is, he's a Dan Campbell guy. He's the mold. He's that voice. He's that energy, that spark, right? You got Al-Qatim Muhammad and Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, the pass rush has not been the problem. I'll say that. They got after the quarterback at granted, Minnesota's offensive line. You had Walter Ruiz and Justin School out there, and also Michael Jurgens. They were dealing with their own offensive line issues too. It was hilarious. It was just who doesn't turn the ball over, and that's really what happened. Emmett Johnson. This is a surprise pick from Nebraska. He was available, and I was like clicking. I'm like, okay, where do I want to go with Emmett Johnson? He's still on the board, and I shoved him to you guys. I mean, that's the honest truth. I'm just being real with you guys. I keep it 100 on this stuff, and Emmett Johnson was available. I figured to myself, look, David Montgomery going to be going into a contract year. Who's that third running back right now? Sione Vaki? I mean, it's fine and whatnot, but I feel like they could use a third running back in here, and Emmett Johnson gives them somebody that long-term number 2 with Jahmyr Gibbs. Then you got Traden Stukes, Arizona, because they're not going to be able to re-up David Montgomery, in my opinion, once they pay Gibbs and everything like that. So I think that Johnson would come in here on a cheap 4-year contract and give him that that second running back of the long haul. Traden Stukes is a beast of a slot corner. I like him a lot. I think he's an underrated player in this draft class, and he could line up right in there, give him a good slot corner for Meek Robinson, who's a free agent. And then we got Will Kekmerick from Ohio State, a great blocker. He'll be that Brock Wright developmental number 2 tight end that'll also help them in pass pro. So this is going to be that chip guy that also helps in the run game too. I'm just trying to improve the protection as much as possible. I think Kekmerick is a great, great blocking tight end. I mean, he can play receiver too. Like, he can catch. It's not like he has no hands or anything. He'll slip out there. But he's going to be your blocking tight end to go along with Sam Laporta. Bud Clark here, safety from TCU. Yeah, I'd like to go safety earlier than this, but maybe hit up free agency too to get some depth. You got Darius Taylor and Jack Kelly to finish up the draft. Darius Taylor, man, I'm just taking more plugs at running back. He was also one of those guys where I just think it's best player available sort of thing. Not the biggest need. I get it. Anyway, I took him here, and I think it's, to be real with you, I think I just forgot that I took Emmett Johnson already, and I took another running back. So I'm sorry, Detroit Lions fans. I kind of screwed up a little bit on that, but it is what it is. I think that, hey, yeah, it doesn't hurt to have some good running back depth like that in Darius Taylor at the end of the draft. At least you're going to find somebody in here. You have a really good room with Gibbs, Johnson, and Taylor going forward, and then Jack Kelly to finish up the draft here. And there's only a chance that Darius Hill even makes the roster. Who knows? He's a 6th-round pick, so it was a bit of a mistake on me. So you have to show me a little bit of mercy out here. Mercy! Yeah, sometimes when you're doing 7-round mock drafts, you're just like, you're shuffling all over the place with different teams. You're like, oh, where did I go? This and that. Yeah. So anyway, going to the Packers here, we got Keith Abney, the 2nd Arizona State cornerback, going to come in here and compete right away. This cornerback room could be very, very different going into like 2027. Nixon, Hobbs, they may not be on this roster at that point. So finding some young corner talent like Keith Abney, I think would make a lot of sense. And he was best player available on my board too at this point. Finding him there, boom, easy pick for me, even if his size isn't the greatest at 5'9" and 6, just under 5'10". Jude Bowery. Hey, Jude, it's you. I'm going to take him as a developmental offensive lineman. He'll compete with Jordan Morgan. They're just giving more competition at the left tackle position. You could also move him into guard, possibly, if they really needed him to. But I think Bowery would be your developmental tackle there with Morgan competing. Daryl Jackson, a big, freakish defensive tackle that can help stop the run for this defensive line a little bit more consistently. Give him a big man. We got Ethan Kaliak McManus. I think they're going to get a quarterback at some point in this draft as a backup because Malik Willis is a free agent. So I expect them to say, hey, let's go get ourselves a good backup here in one of these picks. Ethan Kaliak McManus is that guy. I like him. I think he might be a sneaky draft pick for somebody who drafts him. Dominique Jackson from the Alabama corner, traits guy. His tape's not been there, but he is a traits corner and somebody that teams are going to draft because of those traits and maybe he can develop. Sertan Perkins is like a hopper, sort of, you got Tyron Hopper, of course. Anyway, Perkins kind of fits that mold and can give him another rotational blitzing hybrid player who plays as an edge rusher, but I think he's going to move to more of an off-the-ball approach. Jack Velling, good tight end from Michigan State, has some juice and he can block as well and be another behind Luke Musgrave, 3rd tight end. You got Roman Hemby to finish up the draft, give him some running back depth because there is a chance that they might get a little thinner at running back this offseason. On to the Minnesota Vikings. Skull. And we're taking Jeremiah Love. I love him, and he's certainly going to be somebody that comes in here as the feature back. I just think it's a lazy pick, but hey, I'm lazy sometimes, right? Jeremiah Love, I mean, who can't deny how awesome of a fit that would be for this football team? That with Aaron Jones, who's fantastic, and I mean, you got some guys in here. I mean, Ty Chandler is back this week, and he actually played well and all those sort of things. He's a free agent, I believe. They could bring him back on the cheap. But Love would definitely give him a little bit of a boom. Aaron Jones may not be back too contract-wise. They may have to get a little cheaper with their contract situation. Love, it's just an easy plug and play there. And then you got Kamari Ramsey. I love Kamari Ramsey. He's a guy. He's a dog. He's just somebody in there that I think you draft and you kind of set it and forget it when it comes to Ramsey. Harrison Smith, you know what? Maybe he should just keep playing because he's so good. I mean, seriously, he is unbelievable still. He's not lost any sort of diagnosing ability with the game of football. I'll tell you that right now. Another great game. Dude, Andrew Van Ginkel was awesome. That defensive line in general was awesome. Dallas Turner's playing better. Eric Wilson's been a beast this season. It's just all around. It's been an incredible unit defense, and the game plan that they've been able to run out here is fantastic. And now you add in Kamari Ramsey, Davison Igabanosin, and at the cornerback position, who maybe can give you more of that outside cornerback vibe, and keep Byron Murphy in the slot possibly. A lot of options in here, but Igabanosin can give him another outside cornerback. You got Matt Golbin, the Michigan State former tackle there, who's got the athletic traits. I just think he moves inside to guard. He just does not have the measurables to play any tackle. He could move into guard too if they needed it, but they're okay at the guard position with Fries and Jackson. So you get Golbin to play center, and can't wait to see how that offense line hums for the long haul. And then you got Tim Keenan, Alabama interior run defender extraordinaire. He'll give you a nice combination there with Redmond. Just continue to build up some more depth with Rodriguez on that defensive line. Owen Heineke, former walk-on linebacker OU, has really showed up. And he's another OU linebacker, but man, he plays with energy. And I love his game, constantly around the football. And I just think he could be a great developmental linebacker for this football team. Baron Brown, LSU wide receiver, not quite what he expected when he transferred over there, but the speedster gives you maybe that developmental wide receiver 3. Just in case Jalen Nailor's not back, even though it might be a priority with as much him and McCarthy have a good connection. Marquez White, UMass edge rusher. I've only watched highlights on this guy, but he certainly has some juice, man. I saw him beat Trey Zune out there. He's got some good hands. I think he can really use his hands to work off edge rushers, and certainly has enough juice to get up the passer as well. So he'll be a good developmental depth edge rusher for this football team. On to the Atlanta Falcons, and we are going to be going to get Maxie Hunachore, the offense tackle over at Arizona State. He's the right tackle over there, and he'll be a great developmental piece behind Caleb McGarry, who has been injured this season. I want to look at that future, though, at right tackle, making sure you have a good pass protector. I think Maxie Hunachore is that guy for Michael Penix, which would be the blind side here. Jeremy Bernard, Alabama. We go back-to-back double on Alabama with Deontay Lawson as well. Wide receiver, they could use a yak threat in here. I think Bernard gives them that. They could use another linebacker in here just in case Caden Ellis is not re-signed. And even if he is re-signed, they could use more depth. Divine Diablo is going to be going to a contract year next season. So finding that third linebacker, they've invested, of course, but I still think that between Bertrand, you got Lawson now in here. Let's continue to ramp up that linebacking room. Nick Barrett, South Carolina interior big man, right? He can give them that big man status that may be something that they could be lacking up there in Atlanta right now. And then we got Bishop Fitzgerald, safety, who could just be some more special teams, some more depth. Saying you got to go unless Jesse Bates or anytime soon, but he will be going to a contract year, I believe, next season. So finding somebody that could just be a developmental guy, more depth, all those sort of things. Carolina are on the clock next, and we're starting off with a pass rusher. Now, look, there were edge rushers on the board at this point. I'm like, okay, how about we just go with the best available pass rusher? I'm going Caleb Banks. I heard they were in last year on Mason Graham, and I don't blame him. Mason Graham has been showing and proving every single week, getting better. Caleb Banks is a dog. He is a beast. He's one of my favorite players in this draft class. When healthy, he is a top 10 talent in this draft. So we'll go ahead and invest in the defensive line some more. And Tershawn Wharton hasn't worked out this season. Ashawn Robinson has been good. You got Derek Brown, who's playing at an all, like an all-pro level or close. I mean, I would still give Simmons the all-pro nod, but Banks also, or Brown's also amazing. So you got Banks, Brown, and Robinson. It's pretty good interior defensive line rotation, which they use 3 down linemen, no problem. Jay Golday, linebacker, Cincinnati, pair him up with Trayvon Wallace. That's your new linebacking core of the future. I think that would be a nice little 1-2 punch rocking in there. Keontae Scott, slot corner, day one starter over there with Chow Smith-Wade. I think you could use an upgrade. I think Keontae Scott would provide that in the slot. Nicky Prongos from Stanford gives him a developmental tackle. Taylor Moton with the injuries. He said he's still good with that he had that 2-year contract extension, but they could look at that long-term in 2027 and say, hey, we'll take a chance here on Prongos. They need a swing tackle, if nothing else, because, yeah, let's get at least a swing tackle in this case scenario. Romello Height, edge rusher, his best player available. This was an easy BPA approach. More juice off the edge. Yeah, it's a little bit of Princely Umamiel and edge vibes, but I think he's got more juice than that. And why the heck not, right? I mean, at this point. Earl Little Jr., the Florida State safety with immense speed, just got to get better with tackling. I think that's a big portion of his game that has to be improved. And maybe not taking too many chances, but Earl Little is definitely going to give him a playmaker in that back end to go along in there with, what's his name? Lathan Ransom. And they got Cope Barnes from Kansas. Continue to prove good offensive lineman. And Barnes is the next in line. Maybe he comes back for another season. Could probably end up being even a day 2 pick. Who knows? He's got the talent. And we'll go ahead and invest in that possibly because Robert Hunt / Damian Lewis, both expensive. Lewis is playing fantastic. Hunt's been injured. Finding some more depth in there, always important. And with the free agents they have with Christian, with Brady Christensen and whatnot, Cade Mays, Xavier Thomas to finish up the draft here, wide receiver from LSU, going to be some more depth in the room. On to the New Orleans Saints here, where we're going to start off with Jordyn Tyson, the wide receiver from Arizona State. He's just too good not to take at this point. Yeah, the soft tissue issues. I mean, come on, it's just. Yeah, I can't ignore that. I'm sorry. I can't. It is something. I think he's probably a top 3 player in this draft class. So you got to get the medicals checked out there. But he's just such a good football player that I can't let go any further than this. You pair him up with Chris Olave. That is a 1-2 wide receiving punch. I think Tyson could be a number 1 in the NFL. There's just no denying the talent with him. And get yourself another weapon in that offense for Shough. And also want to protect Tyler Shough. And that's why I went double dipping on the offensive interior here with Chase Bisontis, Logan Jones, Basantes, get him in starting day one as a pass protector. Ruiz has not been the guy. They need help, period, on that offensive interior. Logan Jones. This comes down to Eric McCoy is a great center. He's just always injured. So having somebody in there, at least as a good backup, is super important. I mean, Fortner's not been terrible. He's played a little, last couple of, like last game, he was just okay. But anyway, like Logan Jones can be their long-term succession plan there. Gabe Backus going to be the pick here in the 4th round, getting some more depth just in case Cam Jordan does end up retiring to go along with Chase Young and Carl Granderson. And then we go with Cam Robinson, linebacker from Virginia, a really good football player. I watched him and I'm like, oh, wow, this is a guy I need to seriously get on my radar. I think he's got all the athletic traits. Maybe he needs to get better in coverage, but he can make plays. So I think he's going to be a nice, him and Studsman, maybe your future linebacking core. Brett Norfleet from Missouri, good inline blocking guy that can also make plays as a pass catcher. Want to go ahead and continue to build up that depth with Juwan Johnson. Then we go on to AZ Hamilton, Zillion Hamilton. They got another great name in that secondary to go along with Kool-Aid McKinstry and Quincy Riley. Hamilton, another one of those instinctual corners that just makes a ton of plays. Not the greatest athlete or the biggest time size, but they definitely play a good amount of zone out there anyway, so I'm not super worried about that. Brandon Cleveland, North Carolina State defensive interior lineman. Very, very well-rounded player, but he's a good, I think, rotational piece for this football team and just continue to build that depth on the interior. Next on the clock, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm starting off with Sonny Styles, the easiest pick probably in a mock draft. I think Sonny Styles is a top 5 player in this draft. Yeah, he is so good. He really is. It just comes down to the question, how high does an off-the-ball linebacker go? That is the thing. But with Styles, he's just like Caleb. He might be better than, I think he's played better than Caleb Downs this season. Arvell Reese is great too. I think Styles might be their best defensive player. He's just so good. He's so talented. There's just not many things he can't do. It really isn't. I watch his game and I'm like, dang, this guy can do it all. Really good linebacker. Bucks go from one Hall of Famer to maybe another, right? Christian Miller, interior defense line. We go back-to-back Georgia players here, and then Georgia Tech. So we're really rocking the Georgia players here and close to home, I guess. But Christian Miller, going to give him some more help. If Logan Jones or Logan Hall ends up walking in free agency or they don't want to pay him or whatever, or even if they do, then they still could use some more help on that interior defense line, Christian Miller. Especially with as much as Todd Bowles likes those interior guys, Miller can help bring some more passers on that defensive line. We got Oscar Delp at tight end, Georgia. In this case scenario, too, you'd probably want to get a free agent pass rusher to go along with Yaya Diaby. Oscar Delp, tight end, I like him a lot. I think he's so underrated. Just doesn't get featured that much. Him and Lawson Lucky, that Georgia offense, they don't feature their tight ends a ton in the receiving game. But Delp can block, and he can also be a all-around wide receiver. I think he's capable at running routes really well. Keelan Rutledge, Georgia Tech, a guard, going to give them some depth, and it can be a Ben Bredesen developmental guy behind him. TJ Hall, Iowa, cornerback, another playmaker from Iowa. You know how they do it there. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we go ahead and get ourselves some depth at the cornerback position. Hopefully, Benjamin Morrison has a better bounce back year next year. He has not looked great as a rookie just yet. Yeah, he's coming off a good game most recently. Finally got back into the rotation starting wise for injuries and stuff. But TJ Hall gives him some more depth at cornerback. Tyreek Saff from Florida, close to home here. Good, solid pass rushing rotational player. Bryson Washington finish up the draft from Baylor, the running back, who can give him that maybe Rashad White, if they lose him in free agency, some more depth in that room with Sean Tucker. On to the Arizona Cardinals here as we head into the NFC West final division of this mock draft. And we're starting off with Arvell Reese. Not their biggest need. I think they need a tackle. They need a wide receiver. They need offensive line, not just tackle. But Arvell Reese was too good to pass up at this point at number 6 overall. I will take him here and run into that bank. I'm laughing all the way. Ha, 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 ha. Arvell Reese is here. I'm going to be gone. And then we get Blake Miller to, I'm done. But Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. Oh, what fun it is to ride a one who knows misplace. I don't know. Garrett Nussmeier, Garrett Nussmeier is the pick here in the 3rd round, but Miller will be that right tackle for Jonah Coleman or Williams. Then you got Garrett Nussmeier just to compete, right? Give you a quarterback in here in the 3rd round. They may have to do something, maybe a Jacoby Brissett back. A lot of options. I don't know what they're going to do just yet, to be honest. It's just so tricky to figure this situation out. There were no trades in this mock draft. I'm not taking quarterback 4 at this point. So I went Arvell Reese, and we get Nussmeier in the 3rd round. We get Deion Burks from OU, who's playing pretty good. I thought he had a good game versus Alabama. So kind of close out the season for him. And a nice little 4th round pick to add some juice into that room. I think it'd be a nice pairing. Alex Harkey, right tackle there at Oregon, moves inside. More than likely, he's going to be a guard at the next level. Give you some depth at competition with some needed help on that interior for sure, which has not been good this season. Robert Spears Jennings, he's going to be like a Buddha Baker Moley. Like, he does everything on that defense, just like Buddha does. And Buddha's going to be going to a contract. I think he's got like a club option on it. Maybe they want to get cheaper at some point. So those are all options that they could think about doing here, and just getting some more help with Dadrian Taylor Demerson. We got DeMonte Smith, interior defense lineman from Middle Tennessee. I've watched some highlight packages on him, and he looks like a guy. I think he could be a guy that gets drafted here, and why not in the 7th round? We'll take a dude on a small school guy that has some talent, get some more rotation here. Remember, Dalvin Tomlinson getting a little bit older now, going to be going to a contract. So those are all things that you have to really think about on building some more help with Walter Nolan and Darius Taylor, get another guy in. On to the Los Angeles Rams here, and we are going to start off with a double dip in the secondary. We're trying to build a little Legion of Boom out here, right? They've seen like, okay, we got a good defensive line. How about we now go double dip the secondary? We get Jerron McCoy and Dylan Thieneman. Oh, that's a pretty dang crazy duo out there. McCoy, yes, you got to worry about some of the injury, the ACL, but he should be fully ready to go by training. There should be no problems. Like, he should be able to play even right now if he had to. I think he's just being cautious, wants to hold out for the draft, all those sort of things. You get Dylan Thieneman in that back end with his athleticism, gives him some juice back there and some serious playmaking ability with Cam Kitchens and Dylan Thieneman as your 1-2 punch rocking machine. Yeah, I like that. You get Amare Thomas. I like Thomas a lot. I watched him and I'm like, geez Louise, where's this guy been for? He said definitely. I feel confident with him in the 2nd round. No problem about that. Give yourself another weapon in there with Puka Nacua. And then obviously Devontae Smith, but the contract, or Devontae Adams, but that contract, you're going to have to get, he's getting older, all those sort of things. Kage Casey, tackle at Boise State. Then he moves inside a guard. He could be their long-term Kevin Dotson sort of replacement. And Dotson, they're not going to cut him, but they have to think about that contract going especially to 2027. So Casey could develop in that role. He could even develop at center, possibly. I mean, I don't put it past him to develop there for Coleman Shelton either. So just try and take an interior player here. And I like Casey. I really do. I like he's gonna be a starter at some point in his career. Peyton Woodrig, kicker. I know. You're like, a kicker in the 5th round? Are you crazy? Why are you taking a kicker for us? Well, I'm taking a kicker because you need one. And Woodrig's a beast. He is one of the best kickers in college football. So there you go, 5th round kicker. Kickers are important too. Kickers and punters. I tried to highlight at least a couple of those. I probably should have taken a kicker for the Jets, but anyway, we'll see. Drew Aller, as I mentioned before. Bryce Foster, he can also develop on that interior. I think Bryce Foster is a little bit better than where he gets the recognition too. Renee Kunga from Louisville, an interior rotational passer, sure, why not? Just continue to ramp it up some more. Trey Moore, same thing here, some more depth. And then finally, Aaron Anderson, a little playmaker, a little gadget guy. If Tutu is not back in there at well, we get an well receiver with Aaron Anderson. Not gone. The year hasn't gone the way I'm sure he wanted. We move on to the 49ers in San Francisco, where we get Caden Proctor. I know it's one of those where it just seems like it's kind of like the Jeremiah Love thing. It's just too good not to happen. It seems like an ideal fit for each team. Proctor could start at guard right away at left guard and then be their long-term heir apparent at left tackle. The athletic traits, the size profile, Shanahan licking his chops on what he can do out there. Jacoby Lane from USC, he's a really just that catch point guy that I think has some parallels to Jawan Johnson and can be sort of that power slot even possibly for this team that they can use a little bit in and out. Our Mason Thomas, edge rusher, he's that Bryce Huff replacement type of guy, right? Huff's still in a contract, but Mason gives him some more pass rush juice right away. Something they could use, right? And then Max Clare, backup tight end for them, absolutely a need as well, and Clare can do that. Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin, give him some more depth on the outside at that cornerback position, certainly an area that they could use as well. They've had a little injuries too at that cornerback position. LJ Martin, BYU running back. I feel like they're going to draft a running back. Seem to try to do it each and every season, and with the amount of injuries that they have, I like LJ Martin. He's a really good running back out there, and yeah, he doesn't have any flashy traits. He's a north and south runner. That's his game through and through. And then finally, Dante Coleon, the Godfather in here to continue to bolster it, even though they're getting some momentum there with Alfred Collins and CJ West both making impacts on that defensive injury, which is great. And it's what you want to see. But we'll add in the Godfather here and Dante Corleone to continue to bolster that some more. Final draft is the Seattle Seahawks. In this case, they are the Super Bowl champions in the projection and everything. I'm taking Parker Brailsford. I know people are going to say, oh, Brailsford's like a day 3 guy. Yeah, what are you doing? But I love him so much. Jim, please, Jim. No, Parker Brailsford is so good. And he was playing with a high ankle sprain. So people are going to mention some of the tape of Georgia and this and that. But dude was playing with a high ankle sprain. All right. He's a freaking gladiator. That's insane. Even Kanan Proctor's like, yeah, this dude is nuts. He's a different cat. And I believe it. He is one of my favorite players in this draft class. He's a center. Centers don't go that high in the draft. He's probably going to be more of a round 2, round 3 guy. But I just feel like when you watch the film on this guy, he's so good. He is one of those dudes that I'm going to stick up for through and through. If he ends up being a bust, you can come at me and say, G-Sling or Gareth, and you are crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm unsubscribing. Or even if you're not subscribed already, then I'm going to subscribe and then unsubscribe just as a rebellion. I'm totally fine with that. I stick with it. I believe in Parker Brailsford. I see it. I'm not denying. I fully think he's going to be a top 5 type of center in the NFL. I have conviction he is at least a starter in the NFL at the center position. Sundell's been great. You could put him over at that right guard position, have him compete over there. I just think Brailsford's that dude. So taking him, that's my explanation from hopefully good enough explanation to ease some of the pain, I'm sure. But Brailsford's a guy. Devin Moore here in the second round at cornerback with his size profile. Good outside at cornerback to go along with Witherspoon in that secondary. Jadarian Price. There's a real chance that K9 may not be back. So, I mean, you got Sharp, and Charbonnet's great, but Price gives him some more electrical juice in that room, and I think he'd be a good complementary back too with Charbonnet. So it's definitely a possibility. Price at this point where he is available, I think goes BPA, good player at this spot. Derek Moore, Michigan edge rusher, another one of those cases, just BPA. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence getting a little bit older now, still an impact, no doubt about it. Chinna Nwosu, also an impact, but contract, getting a bit older, injury history. Finding maybe a developmental edge rusher makes a lot of sense for them here in the second round or in the 6th round. Why the heck not, right? Derek Moore is a really talented guy with decent length and solid size profile, and I think he's got all the skills to be a really solid edge rusher for this football team. So that is going to do it here for the 7-round mock draft. Really hope you guys had a great Christmas and are excited for the new year and all those sort of things. It's been a fun year. It's been a fun year, and we're going to hopefully keep that reign going, and looking forward to this 2026 mock draft. A long way to go still, and a lot of mock drafting to do. So let's get to work, right? Get to work. But anyway, have a really good one, and I'll talk to you guys later.